In late 2017, a strange rumor started circulating around an abandoned house in a small mountain town in the United States. People used to say that a pregnant woman was seen standing in a second-floor window of the house late at night. He never moves, never speak, just looking at the darkness. Old residents of the town said that many years ago a young woman lived in that house, Sarah Whitmore. Of the child, he was waiting to be born. But after a mysterious incident, he disappeared. Since then, strange things started to happen around the house. The sound of baby crying in the middle of the night, the swing of the swing in the empty room, and the shadow of the pregnant woman standing by the window. At first, everyone thought it was a rumor. But in course of time, many people were found who swore that they had seen him with their own eyes. And those who are very close tried to go. Each of them later had some horrible thing happen to them. The townspeople gradually named the house the Crying House, because after 3 o'clock in the night, the sound of crying of a newborn baby often came from inside the house. But no one lived in the house for many years. Winter, summer, storm or rain, nothing could stop that cry. Once the people of the city, the street next to the house, also stops using, no one wanted to go there after the sun went down. There was an old coffee shop in the middle of town. Every evening some old people would sit there and talk. One of them was Henry Miller, around 80 years old, one of the oldest residents of the city. One night it was snowing outside. Sitting inside the coffee shop, Henry suddenly said, "Did you know that was the last time I saw Sarah?" Everyone around is silent. Done Sarah Whitmore's name was barely spoken in town. Henry slowly put down the coffee cup. Then he said, "It was still night, storm clouds in the sky. I was on my way home, passing in front of the Whitmore house." He paused for a few seconds, then he said in a low voice, "I saw Sarah at the second-floor window." One asked, "Then?" Henry's face turned pale. He stood by the window, but something was strange. "What's weird? She wasn't looking at me." "So," Henry said with a trembling voice, "he was looking at someone behind me." There was silence in the coffee shop. Henry began to speak again. "I looked back. There was no one there. But when I looked ahead again, I saw that Sarah is no longer alone." His voice dropped even lower. Just behind him stood another shadow. "A man? I don't know, because he had no face." After saying this, Henry fell silent. Then he whispered, "Sarah disappeared the next morning." After hearing the story of that night, many did not believe it. But after a few days, a new man came to town. His name is Daniel Ross, writer by profession. He used to write books on supernatural phenomena. On reaching the city, he heard about the house and became curious. The first thing he did after checking into the hotel was Whitmore. He started looking for the old history of the family. But strangely, he got very little information. It's like someone deliberately deleted all the records. Only a small news item was found in an old newspaper. The news is almost 30 years old. It was written there, "Local resident Sarah Whitmore mysteriously missing. Search underway." The news ends here. There is no explanation, no details. Daniel thought there was more to the matter. Many things are hidden. That night he sat by the hotel window writing notes. Suddenly a strong wind started outside. The window glass began to shake. Daniel unconsciously looked at the distant mountains. And then he saw it. That house standing in the dark. And in the second-floor window, a pregnant woman, steady, silent. His white face is clearly visible in the moonlight. The pen fell from Daniel's hand. He wiped his eyes and looked again. The woman is still standing there, but this time he raised his head slowly, and at that very moment Daniel felt the woman is looking directly at him from so far away. Then suddenly the window light went out, and the whole house was again plunged into darkness. Daniel sat still for a moment. He tried to convince himself that maybe there was some play of light and shadow, maybe even remotely wrong saw, but his inner voice said that what he saw was real. The sight of Sarah's eyes still played in his head, as if someone was calling him from the other side of the window. He did not sleep properly all night. He was falling asleep again and again, and every time it seemed as if someone was walking slowly in the corridor outside his room. Sour, sour, sour. Footsteps. But when the door was opened, no one could be seen. After dawn, Daniel decided he will go to the Whitmore house today. The townspeople forbade him many times. An old woman directly said, "If you go, you'll be back before sunset." Daniel smiled. "Why?" The old woman looked at him. Then he slowly said, "Because the house is never the same after dark." Around noon, he took the car and left on the mountain road. As the road continued, the surroundings became more and more deserted. The trees are unusual long. Their branches are leaning over the road. Even though the sky was clear, the place looked strangely dark. After about half an hour, he reached in front of the house. Up close, the house is even more terrifying. Two-storied wooden house. The color is gone. Broken window glass. The wood of the porch is rotten. Yet it seemed the house was not dead, rather quietly waiting. Daniel pushed the gate and entered. The gate creaked open. That word as if echoed throughout the area. The door of the house was half open. He stepped inside. Immediately a kind of cold wind touched him. It is much colder inside than outside. There is dust on the floor, old pictures on the wall, spider webs everywhere. But the strange thing is, new footprints appear on the dust. Of a man. Daniel bent down and took a good look. Footprints led to the stairs. In his chest it seemed like a challenge. Where did the new footprints come from in the abandoned house for so many years? He took out his camera and took a picture, then slowly started climbing the stairs. The wood creaked with every step. Going up, he saw a long corridor, many houses on both sides. At the far end of the corridor is a door. Unlike other doors, close it, and there is a strange sign engraved on it. A swing Daniel's thorns in the body, because the night before he had read in an old city document, Sarah disappeared before she gave birth. So why this swing symbol? He moved towards the door. He reached out and touched the handle. Just then a voice came from downstairs, soft, coming from afar. At first he didn't understand. Then the sound was heard again, a child's cry, very slowly, very weak but clear. Daniel's mouth went dry when there is no one at home. So who is this cry? He hurried down the stairs. The sound is coming from the direction of the kitchen. The crying is getting louder. It sounds like someone is crying for help. Daniel stopped in front of the kitchen door. The room is completely dark. He lit the torch. Light spread throughout the room, but there is no one there, not even a child. No swings, just an old wooden table. And on the table, a framed picture. Covered in dust, Daniel took the photo. A cold current ran through his chest as he wiped away the dust. A young woman is standing in the picture. His two hands are placed on his stomach. She is obviously pregnant. A gentle smile on his face. Below the picture is written, Sarah Whitmore, October 1989. Daniel stared at the picture. That's Sarah, the one he saw in the window. Just then he heard a whisper from very close to his ear, so close as if someone were talking to his ear. Find my baby. Daniel's entire body froze. The picture fell from his hand and broke on the floor. And at that moment, the shadow of a woman standing in a corner of the kitchen slowly disappeared into the darkness. Daniel stood still for a few seconds. He felt that if he left the house now, there might be more danger, will not. But as a journalist and writer, his curiosity was greater than his fear. He bent down and picked up the broken picture frame. Just then, he noticed something written on the back of the picture. He carefully opened the paper behind the frame. A yellow paper was folded inside. The paper is so old that it tears to the touch. Daniel slowly opened it. A few lines written in a shaky hand inside. If anyone finds this letter, but know that they lied. My child is not lost. They took him away from me. And now they're trying to prove me crazy. Name written below the letter. Sarah. Daniel's heart pounded. So far everyone has said Sarah mysteriously disappeared. But this letter says otherwise. There is a clear understanding here that he faced something terrible before he disappeared. Out suddenly, lightning struck. The window pane shook. Daniel raised his head in surprise. A moment ago the sky was clear, but now it is filled with dark clouds. It was as if the weather had changed in a matter of minutes. He felt that the interior of the house had become darker. He decided to go out, but he stopped when he reached the main door. The door is closed. Completely closed. He was sure, though, the door was open when he entered. He is the handle rotated, no work done. Pulled harder. The door didn't budge. Just then, the child's cry came from upstairs again. But this time, there is another sound mixed with the cry. A woman's cry. Deep, broken, helpless. The hair on Daniel's body stood up. He slowly looked towards the stairs. Something moved in the dark corridor of the second floor. A white shadow, seen for a glimpse. Invisible again. Daniel knew he should leave now. But the last line of that letter was playing in his head. They took him away from me. Who took it? Who was taken? Sarah's child or someone else? He began to climb the stairs again to find out the answer. As he reached the corridor, he noticed that the atmosphere had changed compared to before. The wind is heavy. The old pictures on the wall look different. He stopped in front of a picture went earlier. There was only one family in the film, but now it seems that another person is standing behind the picture. A woman, long hair, white dress. His face is blurry. Daniel wiped his eyes and looked again. The image is normal again. He exhaled slowly. Then he stood in front of the closed door at the end of the corridor. The door is carved with the swing symbol. Now he turned the handle. The door opened surprisingly easily. Inside is a small room. In mind, being many years ago, it was a children's home. A wooden swing in one corner, faded blue color on the walls. Small toys are scattered, and a table in the middle of the room. An old tape recorder on the table. Daniel approached slowly. A cassette is still inserted into the recorder. He pressed the button. At first it was just a rough sound. Then came a woman's voice, shaking, tired, wet with tears. If anyone heard this, I'm running out of timeless. Daniel listened with bated breath. I don't know who they are, but they want my baby. I've been having the same dream for the past 3 nights. A man in black stands outside the window. He says the baby is his. Suddenly there was a loud noise in the recording. Then Sarah's voice was heard again. more scared this time. He entered my room. And here, and suddenly the recording stopped. How silent Daniel's chest pounded. Just then a soft voice came from behind him. "You heard?" He slowly turned around. A woman is standing in front of the door. White dress, pale face, put both hands on the stomach. Deep sadness in his eyes, and many years of waiting. Sarah Whitmore was now completely clear for the first time, and his lips moved slowly. "Now you must know the truth." Sarah Whitmore's voice echoed through the room, but surprisingly, his lips were moving very little, as if the words were not coming from the mouth, but from the surrounding air. Daniel's throat went dry. For the first time in his life, he sees a soul that feels more sadness than fear. Sarah's eyes were strangely tired, as if he's been waiting for something for years. Any answer? No release slowly. Sarah slowly raised her hand and pointed to a corner of the room. An old cupboard stood there. Daniel had not seen the cupboard for a long time. It was almost mixed in the darkness of the room. Sarah whispered, "There." Daniel slowly approached the cupboard. His hands were shaking. He opened the cupboard door. A few old baby clothes inside, a small blanket, and below him is a wooden box. Dust accumulates on the box. There is but the finger marks in the middle, as if someone had touched it recently. Daniel picked up the box. Opening the lid, a diary was found inside. Leather jacket. The corners are torn. On the first page, Dr. Alan Greaves. Daniel's brow furrowed. He had not heard this name before. He quickly turned the pages. Medical notes on first few pages. Then suddenly Sarah's name appeared. Patient, Sarah Whitmore. Daniel began to read intently. The patient is having the same dream over and over again. He claims there is a stranger standing outside the window. She believes her unborn child is in danger. After a few more pages, the patient came in today in a very panicked state. He said, "Someone walks under the house." He said he heard a baby cry in the middle of the night. He said, "Someone is in front of the door of his room, stands up and breathes." Daniel stopped reading, because the next line is different. The handwriting is shaky, messy, as if the doctor himself was afraid. Today I heard the word myself. A cold feeling spread through Daniel's chest. He quickly opened the next page. There is only one sentence. Sarah is not lying. The next pages are even weirder. I visited the house. An old room in the basement got it. The room was not in the design. Strange marks on the wall. And the sentence ended abruptly. It seems that the author could not write anymore. Daniel turned to the next page, writing the same sentence throughout the page, repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. "Don't wake him up. Don't wake him up. Don't wake him up. Don't wake him up." His body trembled. Suddenly the room temperature dropped so fast that his breath started coming out white. Daniel slowly raised his head. Sarah is still standing there, but this time there is a look of fear on his face, more than ever. He looks down the corridor, as if something is coming. Daniel also looked down the corridor. At first nothing was seen. Then, very slowly, darkness stirred at the end of the corridor. It is as if another shadow is coming apart from the shadow. A tall figure, like people but not normal. Unusually long arms, to lean shoulder, and the face is just a black void. Sarah's face turned pale instantly. He looked at Daniel and whispered, He took my baby." The figure took a step forward. The wood of the floor creaked, and just then Daniel realized Sarah is not the only soul that has been trapped in this house for many years. There's more. Too dark. Much older. And it now knows that Daniel got closer to the truth. The air in the room grew heavy in an instant. Daniel felt as if someone had placed an invisible stone on his chest. He is able to breathe, but each breath is labored. The black figure standing at the end of the corridor is still, yet his presence was such that the whole house came alive around him. The wood on the wall is creaking. Somewhere on the roof, slowly, something is rubbing, and a muffled whisper coming from the deep darkness of the basement. Sarah took a step back. The fear was evident in his eyes. Daniel realized for the first time that Sarah was not the most dangerous being in the house. He himself is afraid of something. Suddenly Sarah looked at him and said, "Don't look at him." "What?" "Don't look at his face." Before Daniel could answer, the light and shadow in the corridor grew darker. The black figure is one again. "Move your feet forward." His gait was not normal. It looked like he wasn't walking. Instead, it floats on the floor. Daniel's hands and feet went cold, but curiosity could not stop him. He unconsciously tried to look into the face of the figure. And then a severe pain started in his head. It was as if thousands of voices were shouting together. He quickly averted his eyes. The pain subsided a bit. Sarah immediately came in front of him, stood up strangely. A faint white light appeared around his body. The black figure stopped. For the first time it seemed to hesitate. Then a loud noise came from the ground floor of the house. "Damn! Damn! Damn!" As if something heavy was hitting the door, once, twice, 3 times. Then all is quiet. Silence. So quiet you can hear your own heartbeat. Sarah slowly looked downstairs. An expression appeared on his face. Daniel had never seen it before. Panic and disappointment. No. His lips quivered. "No, it shouldn't open," Daniel said, confused. "What should not be opened?" Sarah didn't answer. Just looked down. Just then the whole house shook. Dust fell from the roof. The old pictures hanging on the wall swayed. It seemed as if a huge door was slowly opening somewhere deep inside the house. A long, raspy sound floated out. Grrr. Daniel's chest felt cold. He didn't understand why, but he felt that this sound was not a door. It is the sound of something waking up. Sarah looked back at him now, tears in his eyes. "I can't find my baby." Daniel remained silent. Everyone said he was lost, but I knew he was alive. I heard her cry every night. I called him, but he never did, couldn't get back to me. The room temperature dropped further. Sarah's voice was shaking. Then one night, I found the room below. Daniel said slowly. "The basement?" Sarah shook her head. There was something there. Something too old. Too dark. He took my baby. Then he looked down the corridor. The black figure is still standing. Is waiting. And now, Sarah whispered, he's looking for someone again. Just then from the ground floor, the child's cry came again. But this time the word is not like before. Now there is a sense of help in crying, as if someone has been stuck in the dark for years. Daniel's chest heaved, for in the midst of the cries another voice was very faintly heard, a child's voice, unclear coming from afar, but the word was clearly understood. "Mom." Sarah froze. His eyes widened. Many years of waiting, pain and hope. The mixture flashed in those eyes. And the next moment he was out of the room as fast as lightning and ran towards the stairs. For the first time, it seemed, all these years after his death, he is still searching for one thing: to his child. And Daniel realized that the truth hidden deep inside the house might be more terrible than he imagined. He did not delay for a moment. Sarah followed her down the stairs. When he reached the ground floor, he saw the house. The kitchen floor is not what it used to be. A portion of the old wooden planks have moved away. Below is a narrow staircase shrouded in darkness, like a path that has been hidden for years. The child's cry is coming from the darkness. Sarah was standing at the front of the stairs. His eyes are fixed. He seemed to recognize this place. Slowly he started to descend. Daniel lit the torch and followed him. The stairs are wet. On the wall dark spots as we descended, the air became colder and colder. Finally, they reached a huge underground chamber. The room is impossibly bigger than the house, as if it was never part of the house. Strange markings painted on the walls. In the middle is an old wooden swing, and the cradle swings by itself. What? The sound echoed throughout the room. Sarah slowly walked towards the swing. There is no fear in his face, only deep pain. He stopped when he reached the swing. Then he bent down and looked inside, and immediately his eyes filled with tears. Daniel also moved closer. There is nothing inside the cradle, just a small silver locket. Sarah picked up the locket with shaky hands. Opening the locket, an old picture was seen inside. Sarah's photo. And next to him is a small child. Daniel stared in amazement. "How is that possible?" Sarah whispered. "He was, or was really." Just then, that black figure came out from the other end of the room. Bigger than before. Very scary. It seemed that the whole darkness was his body. The walls around the room began to shake. The rocking stopped. The air froze. Daniel realized that this was the entity whose shadow had cursed this house for years. Sarah slowly turned to him. But this time, there is no more fear in his eyes. That locket is on his chest, held tight. Then smiled for the first time, a bewitching, quiet smile. And at that moment, the whole room lit up. White light spread all around. The black figure began to retreat, as if the light was weakening him. Sarah closed her eyes, and very slowly said, "I found you." With that sound came another voice from across the room, a child's smile, soft, calm down. For the first time in many years. Then more light became brighter. Daniel covered his eyes. After a few seconds, the light faded and he slowly opened his eyes. The room is now completely silent. Oscillation is steady. The marks on the walls are being erased, and Sarah, he's not there anymore. There is no black shape either. Only the silver locket is lying on the floor. Daniel picked it up. Peace felt for the first time inside the room, as if a long wait is over. The next morning, the townspeople are away saw a strange sight from a shadow no longer stands in the second-story window of the Whitmore home. No one heard the baby cry that night either, not even the next night, then never again. A few months later, Daniel published his book. But on the last page of the book, he wrote a word. Some souls don't want revenge. Some souls are just looking for their lost love. And when they find it, it's darkest. The curse also ends. That house is still standing. But no one calls it the crying house anymore. Because after many years, silence has descended there. And in that silence, at last, Sarah Whitmore and her baby found peace.